Good evening. It's Thursday the 9th of October and here's what's making news around the world on World News Tonight. Border violence. Clash near Afghan border kills dozens of Pakistani troops, militants in intense gunfight. Conflict pause. Israel and Hamas agree to first phase of Gaza ceasefire, including initial prisoner swap and partial withdrawals. Tech policing. Miami rolls out first ever driverless police patrol showcasing future of autonomous law enforcement.
From Colombo, this is World News Tonight with Prithika Sivakumar.
Good evening once again. Dozens have died in a fierce clash near Pakistan's Afghan border, where an intelligence-based operation in Orakzai district led to heavy gunfire. 11 military personnel, including a lieutenant colonel and a major, were killed along with 19 militants. The army calls the attackers Khawarij term, used for banned groups including TTP.
The incident occurred yesterday during an intelligence-based operation in Orakzai district of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa near the Afghan border. Pakistani security forces, acting on reports of militant presence, encountered armed resistance. 11 soldiers were killed, including Lieutenant Colonel Junaid Tariq and Major Tayyab Rahat, who led from the front. The military said 19 militants were also eliminated in the exchange. Fitna al-Khawarij is the term used by Pakistan's military to describe certain militants, often referring to banned outfits such as the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. The government alleges that these militants are Indian-sponsored, a claim India denies. Since the Afghan Taliban's takeover of Kabul in 2021, the TTP is believed to have found more freedom to operate from Afghan territory, intensifying cross-border militant activity. The deaths of 2 officers and 9 other soldiers have triggered national mourning and calls from Pakistan's leadership for stronger counter-terror measures. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif has praised the bravery of the troops and emphasized that their sacrifice won't be in vain. Military authorities also announced a sanitization operation to eliminate any remaining militants in the area. Strategically, this clash underscores the persistent volatility along Pakistan's northwestern border and the challenges of intelligence, cross-border militant sanctuaries, and the military's readiness to act.
On his first official visit to India, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer met with Narendra Modi in Mumbai to cement bilateral cooperation in trade, technology and culture. The 2 leaders reaffirmed shared goals under their recently signed trade deal, while Starmer studied India's digital ID model.
Starmer's visit comes on the heels of a landmark UK-India trade agreement signed in July, which aims to cut India's average tariff on UK goods from 15% to 3%. During the trip, the UK announced that 64 Indian companies would invest £1.3 billion in Britain, while the trade mission expected to generate around 7,000 new jobs. A highlight was Starmer's meeting with Nandan Nilekani, architect of India's Aadhaar system, to explore a British version of digital ID. Starmer called India's system a massive success and cited it as inspiration, though critics caution about privacy and exclusion risks. Starmer also announced that 3 Bollywood films will be shot in the UK starting 2026, signaling renewed cultural collaboration. On visas, he reaffirmed that the trade deal does not include liberalized visa rules for India, a point he stressed would remain off the table.
In Himachal Pradesh's hilly Bilaspur region, a devastating landslide struck a bus, killing at least 15 people and injuring others. Torrential rains destabilized the mountain slopes, triggering the collapse. Rescue teams are scrambling through debris in hopes of recovering survivors and victims.
The landslide occurred when the boulders and earth cascaded onto a bus travelling in Bilaspur district, Himachal Pradesh, following days of heavy rainfall. The bus was carrying approximately 20 to 25 passengers. Of the fatalities, 9 were men, 4 women and 2 children. 2 children sustained injuries and are in hospital care. Rescue operations continue, with authorities searching for anyone still missing. The region has been subject to intense unseasonal rains, which saturate soil layers and weaken mountain slopes. In mountainous states like Himachal Pradesh, such conditions often trigger landslides along roads carved into unstable terrain. The combination of human infrastructure and natural slope gradients increases vulnerability during heavy downpours. Officials have ordered inquiries into whether the route was adequately assessed for landslide risk, especially given known vulnerabilities. Local residents have accused authorities of ignoring prior warnings about risk zones. This tragedy adds to a broader pattern. Northern India and the Himalayan region have recently seen frequent floods and landslides exacerbated by erratic monsoon behavior, possibly linked to climate change.
Australia's defence officials are warning that China could intensify naval operations near Australian waters in coming months, citing recent unannounced live-fire drills and maritime incursions. Canberra says it is enhancing surveillance, diplomacy and military preparedness as it faces growing strategic pressure in the Indo-Pacific region.
An ancient welcome for an emerging power. India's Defence Minister, in charge of the largest standing army in the world.
As a result of what we're doing today, our two defence forces are working much more closely together and will continue to do that as we go forward.
An important friend at an important time, with warnings from Australia's defence chiefs that our area is about to get more volatile.
We expect the Australian Defence Force will come into close contact more often, including in waters proximate to Australia.
Earlier this year, a 3-ship Chinese task force circumnavigated Australia. Unprecedented then, expected in the future.
Defence expects this type of activity in our region will continue in the future.
Plus, close calls with Australia's partners around the South China Sea and Australian divers injured by sonar pulses from a Chinese warship.
We see additional deployments south, and we expect that there will continue to be increasing deployments in waters proximate to us.
Australia's defence strategy relying on the Quad alliance with India, Japan and America and the AUKUS nuclear submarine pact. The president's tariffs causing a rift with India that threatens the Quad, while the review into AUKUS is due back soon.
I wouldn't characterise it as imminent necessarily, but I don't think that they're planning to stretch it out to next year.
Leaving plenty for Anthony Albanese to discuss in the Oval Office later this month.
Let's go in for a short commercial break. More world news coming right after this. Welcome back. In a breakthrough mediated by regional powers, Israel and Hamas have agreed to the first phase of a Gaza ceasefire, including an initial prisoner hostage swap and partial Israeli withdrawal. The accord, part of a US-led peace framework, offers hope amid deep skepticism and years of conflict.
Israel and Hamas agreed on Wednesday to the first phase of US President Donald Trump's plan for Gaza, sparking celebrations by Palestinians in the coastal enclave in the early hours of Thursday morning. The agreement, reached through indirect talks in Egypt, comes just a day after the second anniversary of Hamas militants' cross-border attack that triggered Israel's devastating assault on Gaza. Trump said on Truth Social that the sign-off by Hamas and Israel on the first phase of the plan meant that, quote, all of the hostages will be released very soon, and Israel will withdraw their troops to an agreed-upon line. Hamas confirmed it had reached an agreement to end the war, saying the deal includes an Israeli withdrawal from the enclave and a hostage-prisoner exchange. Israeli officials believe that of the 48 hostages held by Hamas, 20 are still alive. A Hamas source said the living hostages would be handed over within 72 hours of the Israeli government approving the deal. An Israeli government spokesperson said the hostage release was expected to begin on Saturday. The accord, if fully implemented, would bring the two sides closer than any previous effort to halt a war that had evolved into a regional conflict, deepened Israel's international isolation, and reshaped the Middle East. However, as has been the case with previous peace efforts, crucial details are yet to be spelled out, including the timing, a post-war administration for the Gaza Strip, and the fate of the Palestinian militant group Hamas. Two sources familiar with the talks confirmed that sticking points included the mechanism for the Israeli withdrawal, with Hamas seeking a clear timeline linked to the release of hostages and guarantees of a complete pullout by Israeli forces. The next phase of Trump's plan calls for an international body led by Trump, and including former British Prime Minister Tony Blair, to play a role in Gaza's post-war administration. Arab countries which back the plan say it must lead to eventual independence for a Palestinian state, which Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says will never happen. Hamas has said it would relinquish Gaza governance only to a Palestinian technocrat government supervised by the Palestinian Authority and backed by Arab and Muslim countries. It rejects any role for Blair or foreign rule of Gaza. Hamas has also so far refused to discuss Israel's demand that Hamas give up its arms. A Palestinian source close to the talks said Hamas would reject that demand as long as Israeli troops occupy Palestinian land. Earlier on Wednesday, Trump said that he may travel to Egypt this weekend, possibly leaving as soon as Saturday.
French President Emmanuel Macron is preparing to appoint a new prime minister within the next 48 hours, following the abrupt resignation of Sébastien Lecornu. Macron's office says lawmakers overwhelmingly oppose dissolving parliament, while efforts continue to form a stable coalition amid France's deepest political crisis in decades.
French President Emmanuel Macron's office said late Wednesday that he will appoint a new prime minister in the next 48 hours and that most lawmakers were against a snap election, amid France's worst political crisis in decades. The announcement comes after Sébastien Lecornu, France's fifth prime minister in 2 years, resigned on Monday, along with the cabinet just hours after its unveiling, making it the shortest-lived administration in modern France. But at Macron's request, Lecornu has held further talks with political leaders in an effort to defuse the crisis. In an interview with France 2 TV on Wednesday after meeting with the president, Lecornu said he saw a path to forming a new government, but that it would be difficult. Lecornu did not say who that next prime minister could be and made clear his job was done and it was up to Macron to decide. Lecornu resigned after the opposition, but also some allies, threatened to vote him out, in a sign of the deep instability hitting France. No group or party holds a majority in parliament, and lawmakers have struggled to reach compromises on major issues, including fixing the country's ailing finances.
In response to mounting drone incursions disrupting civil life and infrastructure, Germany's cabinet has approved draft legislation empowering police to shut down rogue drones posing immediate threats. The law, pending parliamentary passage, also authorizes laser, signal jamming and counter-drone units to safeguard airspace in sensitive zones.
Germany is planning to give police new authority to shoot down rogue drones amid growing fears they're part of a hybrid war being waged by Russia. It comes after several recent incidents involving drones that have disrupted airports across Europe. The new law was agreed upon by Germany's cabinet on Wednesday and is awaiting parliamentary approval. German Interior Minister Alexander Dobrindt told journalists in Berlin it explicitly authorizes the police to shoot down drones violating the country's airspace.
The first pillar is to establish a joint drone defense center to ensure that the federal states and the federal government can carry out joint assessments and defense measures. Secondly, to establish a drone defense unit within the federal police force. This will be set up shortly. And thirdly, to enable development and research so that we can respond appropriately to the latest drone technologies and defend ourselves.
Germany has recorded 172 drone-related disruptions to air traffic between January and the end of September this year. Dozens of flights were diverted or canceled due to rogue drone sightings at Munich airport, leaving more than 10,000 passengers stranded. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz has said he assumed Russia was behind many of the drones flying over Germany last weekend, but none had been armed and were rather on reconnaissance flights. With the new law, Germany joins European countries that have recently given security forces powers to shoot down drones violating their airspace, including Britain, France, Lithuania, and Romania.
Ecuadorian President Daniel Noboa narrowly escaped injury when protesters hurled rocks at his motorcade in what officials are calling an assassination attempt. Bullet-like damage was reported on the vehicle, and 5 suspects have been detained. The attack intensifies already volatile protest over the government's removal of diesel subsidies.
Footage from inside Ecuadorian President Daniel Noboa's car captures a crowd hurling objects at the vehicle. About 500 people surrounded his car as he approached an event in Ecuador's Caña province. The attack left his vehicle damaged, with what a minister said looked like bullet holes. President Noboa escaped unharmed. But Environment and Energy Minister Ines Manzano filed a formal report of an assassination attempt on the president. She said police have detained 5 people and the acts will not go unpunished. Noboa's office said the detainees face terrorism and attempted assassination charges. However, the National Indigenous Federation, or CONAIE, said orchestrated violence had targeted people mobilizing to protest Noboa's arrival, with elderly women among those attacked in a brutal police and military action. In a post on X, the organization said at least 5 of us have been arbitrarily detained. Over recent weeks, CONAIE has staged strikes to protest the government's decision to end diesel subsidies. It has held marches and set roadblocks, saying the policy will raise costs, especially for small farmers and indigenous communities. In mid-September, Noboa signed an order to end the subsidies, and his government declared emergencies in several provinces to keep order. The government says ending the subsidy will save $1.1 billion a year, with the money already being redirected to small farmers and transport workers.
Time for a short break now. We'll be right back with more world news. Welcome back. In a dramatic display of courage, a Texas teen sprang into action when her younger brother began choking. Using swift, decisive first aid, she dislodged the obstruction, saving his life. The incident is drawing attention to the importance of training children in basic life-saving skills.
It happened in the blink of an eye. Playtime for 2 Texas children taking a dramatic turn when this young boy began to choke. In a moment where panic could prevail, 10-year-old Leah kept calm with her 7-year-old little brother Logan in distress and took immediate life-saving action.
Are you okay? It was a hard watch, much as it hurts my heart to watch. Gosh, I'm just so proud of her.
Watch again as the duo bounces on a trampoline in their backyard, playing a game that involved putting a small piece of sour candy in their mouths. Logan bounces and falls over. He gets up, but the second time, it's clear something is wrong. Logan gestures and places his hand around his throat. Leah immediately begins to pat his back and then begins to perform abdominal thrusts, formerly known as the Heimlich maneuver, restoring her brother's airway and saving his life.
Logan has swore he will never be on the trampoline with a piece of candy again.
Leah learning the skills from her mom, Heather James, an employee of the Lavon Police Department Special Programs Division that teaches a course on the importance of choking rescue techniques. James says even though Leah was too young to participate in the class, she absorbed the skills.
I'm so proud of my kid.
James says she was in their kitchen when everything went down, and Leah immediately raced over to let her know what had happened.
Let me go get Mom. She's always been an exceptional kid. She is one of those kids that she's just so mature for her age.
A moment that could have ended in tragedy. Now a reminder that age is no barrier when it comes to being a hero.
My only message to any other moms or dads or anyone responsible for a child out there is not to underestimate them because of their age.
Breaking new ground in law enforcement, Miami-Dade has introduced the nation's first autonomous police cruiser. The self-driving vehicle, outfitted with 360 cameras, drone deployment and license plate readers, will patrol pre-planned routes under a pilot program. Agencies across the U.S. will watch closely as Miami tests this next-generation policing tool.
In Miami, police say this is the future of law enforcement.
This vehicle is going to give us touch points with the community that we have never had before.
If you look past the flashing lights and logos, it's clear this is no ordinary police cruiser. This prototype SUV was designed to launch a drone, read license plates, and send live infrared video back to HQ, all without needing a police officer behind the wheel. The Miami-Dade Sheriff's Office says this is the nation's first autonomous police vehicle. The South Florida Department is rolling out the experimental vehicle thanks to funding from the Policing Lab.
What we're ultimately trying to do is to give the sworn officers the capability to make the best decision out there.
For now, Miami-Dade will essentially take the vehicle on a PR junket, seeking community input before it regularly patrols neighborhoods. If and when that day arrives, designers say this vehicle will offer a lot.
They don't need to be focused on driving and looking for animals, children, pedestrians running out into the road. The vehicle's going to watch those vulnerable road users and let the officer look for crime.
The easy-to-operate tethered drone gives police a bird's-eye, up-close view, even in the shadows.
I would probably say that this vehicle will allow 5 to 10 deputies to go about other business that they might otherwise not be able to do.
The policing lab says the car can also help streamline arrests,
Fingerprint, 10 digits.
and relay real-time data.
Bus collision, an active shooter. You position this vehicle, and this information can be fed directly back to a command center for decision making.
Designers say this new law enforcement model would not engage in a high-speed chase without a deputy driving. Technology like 360-degree cameras also raises privacy concerns. Civil society groups like the ACLU have long been suspicious of police using surveillance tech such as drones. Miami-Dade Sheriff says her department is using technology that's everywhere.
We're all on camera all the time, everywhere we go. I think that what we're doing is embracing what's already part of our lives and using it in a way that helps to improve our community.
And we may not even be able to imagine some future triumphs and pitfalls on an uncharted road.
And with that, we come to the end of today's edition of World News Tonight. With the hopes of seeing you again, I'm Prithika Sivakumar, and we'll leave you tonight with the visuals of Blazy redefining Chanel with breezy elegance. Also, don't forget to send us your feedback through email at feedback.ad24english@theron.lk or via WhatsApp at 076 805 7933. Thanks for watching. Have a very good night.